ذكر معجزة لسيدنا موسى. The mentioning of a miracle of Master Moses. ومعجزة لسيدنا يوشع عليهما السلام. And a miracle of Master Joshua. May peace be upon both of them. يوشع بن نون عليه السلام نبي. نبي جاء بعد موسى عليه السلام. Joshua, the son of Nun, may peace be upon him, is a prophet who came after Moses. May peace be upon him. Khalifatu Musa. He was Moses' direct successor. He was the direct successor to Moses in time, meaning he was the prophet after him. أول نبي بعد موت موسى, the first prophet after the death of Moses. هو يوشع عليه السلام. The first prophet after the death of Moses was Joshua, may peace be upon him. هذا يوشع الله تبارك وتعالى أمره بأن يقاتل الكفار. This Joshua, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala commanded him to fight the blasphemers. الذين كانوا مستولين على بيت المقدس. Those who were in control of Jerusalem. Yani, what is the land of Jerusalem. الكفار المتجبرين. Those blasphemers who were tyrants, and they were giants, colossal tyrants. So it doesn't mention in here clearly, explicitly, that they were giants. That's their case. قاتلهم فأبادهم. He fought them and wiped them out. كسرهم. He broke them. يعني he defeated them thoroughly. حرر القدس منهم. He cleared Jerusalem from them. Because he was commanded by God to do so. Whatever is the command of God is just. موسى أيضا كان أمر قومه. Moses also commanded his people. لما أتى بهم من مصر. When he came with them from Egypt. أنقذهم من الغرق بتلك العجوبة العظيمة. He saved them from drowning by that great, astonishing matter. لما دخلوا بر الشام أمرهم. So when they got into the Levant, when they got into the land of the Levant, he commanded them. قال لهم قاتلوا هؤلاء الجبارين. He said to them, fight those tyrants. الذين بالقدس, those who are in the Holy Land. المستولين على القدس, those who have dominance over the Holy Land. قالوا يا موسى إنا لن ندخلها أبدا ما داموا فيها. They said, oh Moses, we will never go in there as long as they are there. فاذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا. You and your Lord go fight. You go you and your Lord, and the two of you fight. It's a very literal translation. So some scholars said that's blasphemy. إِنَّا هُنَا قَاعِدُونَ. We are indeed right here sitters. Yani, we shall be sitting right here. We're not going anywhere. We're not fighting. But some scholars said it is possible to give a ta'wil to this statement of theirs. فَاذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ فَقَاتِلَا. The alternative interpretation, other than what appears, is you go fight with your Lord's help. And they weren't speaking Arabic. Yani, Allah definitely told us accurately what they said. فَاذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ. You, go, you and your Lord. فَقَاتِلَا, and fight. Just, the Arabic has this pronoun here though. So if I want to translate as literally as I can and bring the pronoun out, then I'd say, go, you and your Lord, and the two of you fight. But if I wanted to say something else, I could say, go, you and your Lord, and fight. So anyway, some scholars said this is blasphemy, and some said it's not explicit. It's possible to give it an alternative interpretation. قومه كانوا أتعبوه. His people exhausted him. They gave him a hard time, those Israelites. مع أنهم رأوا من العجائب الكبرى. Although they saw the enormous, amazing matters, which are the miracles. فلق لهم البحر 12 فرقا. He split the sea for them into 12 pathways. Yani, you'd think that if some people saw their master do this, then they would obey him. فرق لهم بحر القلزم. He split the قلزم sea. وهو بحر صعب, which is a rough sea. تجاوز بهم هذا البحر. He crossed this sea with them. الله تعالى جعل له البحر كالأرض اليابسة. Allah Ta'ala made the sea for him like dry land, meaning he made the sea split so that they could walk upon the seabed, and the seabed was dry. هنا ماء وهنا ماء وهنا ماء في 12 مكانا. There was water here and there and here in 12 different places. وَمَا بَيْنَ هَذَا وَهَذَا أَرْضٌ يَابِسَةٌ. And what's between one mountain of water and the other was dry land. دَخَلُوا. They entered in between these mountains of water, standing without a barrier to hold them up. كَانُوا 600,000 نَفْسٍ. There were 600,000 of them. جَاوَزُوا إِلَى أَنْ وَصَلُوا إِلَى الشَّاطِئِ. They crossed until they reached the other shore, the other bank. هذه عجيبة كبرى. This is a supreme miracle. ومع هذا خالفوه بعد ذلك بوقت قصير. And despite that, they opposed him after that by a very short time. It wasn't long, and they were already insolent. لما وصلوا إلى بر الشام خالفوه. When they reached the land of the Levant, they opposed him. قال لهم قاتلوا هؤلاء الجبارين. He said to them, fight those tyrants. الذين في القدس. Those who are in the Holy Land. قالوا إن فيها قوما جبارين. They said, indeed, therein are some tyrant folk. وَإِنَّا لَن نَدْخُلَهَا. And we will not go in there. قَالُوا لَهُ اذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ فَقَاتِلَا. They said to him, go, you and your Lord, and fight. إِنَّا هَاهُنَا قَاعِدُونَ. We will be sitting right here. ثُمَّ مَاتَ مُوسَى. Then Moses died. So what's that? You're familiar now. That's summary right there. Because he didn't just die right there. Once they said, we're going to sit right here, and then he just died. No. Rather, After that, that's when they got lost, because there was a land that was promised for them. And had they been faithful and brave, they would have defeated those colossal tyrants despite being smaller than them in size. They would have defeated them by Allah's help, and then they would have had a home. But since they refused to help him fight, then the land that was named for them, that was promised for them, they didn't achieve it. So then they got lost for 40 years, wandering. Their clothing was growing with them, and Allah would make the manna rain from the sky for them, which is some sort of bread substance. And He would make quails come to them every day. And they had a stone, a boulder. They had a boulder. They had to carry it with them. And when they needed water, Moses would hit it with his stick, and springs would erupt from the boulder. ثم مات موسى. Then, after all of what they went through, for all the time that he was with them, Moses died. قبل أن يفتح بيت المقدس توفي. Before he reached Jerusalem, before he conquered Jerusalem, he passed away. But he wanted to conquer it. That means Moses had the intention to perform jihad. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Had they just fought. Like, don't you know in the story of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, when the army of King Saul, and David was in his army, squared up with the army of Goliath, and then Goliath, the giant, he stepped forward for a duel. He said, "Who will give me a duel?" And then a young man came out, and that was David. David, the son of Jesse. And when Goliath saw him, he became afraid of him. Allah created the fear in his heart, although David was small in comparison to him. So had they fought, they would have won, but they were too cowardly. الآن قبره قبل جبل القدس في أرض اسمها أريحة. Ariha. That's how it's spelled here. Ariha. Could also say it in other ways too, like Ariha. Today, his grave is before Jabal al-Quds. So I don't know if they're going to say it in English as the Mountain of Jerusalem or Mount Jerusalem. I don't know. But that's how it would translate. In a land called Jericho. Ariha. بين أريحة وجبل القدس. Between Jericho and Mount Jerusalem, as per my translation. جبل القدس جبل كبير. Mount Jerusalem is a big mountain. مثل جبل لبنان, like Mount Lebanon. Also, I don't know if they're going to call it that, Mount Lebanon. Maybe these have names in English other than that. هناك مدفون نبي الله موسى عليه السلام. There is where God's prophet Moses is buried. Meaning, according to what is weighty. So it is likely that that is the grave of Moses, because it fits the description in the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, لو كنت عنده لأريتكم قبره على جنب الطريق عند الكثيب الأحمر. Had I been there, I would have pointed his grave out to you I would have shown you his grave on the side of the road by the red sand dune. Yes. So the Muslims, they found a grave that fits this description and they built a shrine over it. So they believe that is the grave of Moses. So it is likely the grave of Moses. And there are stories about scholars and pious people who have gone there and made dua there and gotten their supplications there answered. As for whose graves are 100% known for sure amongst the prophets, those are only Muhammad and Abraham with 100% certainty. بعد ذلك يوشع, after that was Joshua. Allah Ta'ala أنزل عليه الوحي, God, exalted is He, brought revelation down upon him. جعله نبيا, He made him a prophet. فأمر المؤمنين الذين كانوا معه بقتال هؤلاء الجبابرة, and so He commanded the believers who were with him to fight those tyrants. فقاتلوهم, and so they fought them. فكسروهم, and they defeated them. أعانهم الله تعالى, God, exalted is He, supported them. من جملة معجزاته أن الله رد له الشمس بعد غروبها, and among His miracles is that God made the sun come back up for him after it had set. طلب من الله أن ينجز فتح بيت المقدس قبل غروب الشمس. He requested from God to enable him to complete conquering Jerusalem before sunset. هذا اليوم, on that day, before the sunset of that day. فكانت الشمس غربت, and the sun had set. ثم أعادها الله تعالى كما كانت, and then God made it come back up as it was. فكسروا الكفار, and then He defeated the blasphemers. أنهوا قتال الكفار, He finished fighting them, He wiped them out. ففتحوا البلد, so He conquered the land. فدخل المؤمنون بيت المقدس, and then the believers entered Jerusalem. قتال الكفار كان قبل سيدنا محمد, fighting disbelievers, fighting disbelievers was something that was prior to Master Muhammad. بعض الأنبياء أمروا بذلك, some of the prophets were commanded with that.